Namaste, Devi Gauravani Pachalade. Nivasisha Sudivari Pashtatara Sadharane. Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shiva Sadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ulam, Lam, Hare Hare. Okay, so I'm joining it in a very exciting part. Arjuna's showing the first signs of being indecisive about fighting. So he's asked Krishna, where is it? Yeah, to draw the chariot between the two armies. So he's having some doubts. He wants to observe those who have come to fight. So let's pick it up from there. So the one text 23, and I can see you can begin.
Thanks. Text 23?
Yes, we can begin from that text 23.
Yotasma aman aveksheham ya etetra samagata Dhritarashtrasya durbude yude priya chikirsava. Let me see those who have come here to fight, wishing to please the evil-minded son of Dhritarashtra. Purport. It was an open secret that Duryodhana wanted to usurp the kingdom of the Pandavas by evil plans in collaboration with his father, Dhritarashtra. Therefore, all persons who had joined the side of Duryodhana must have been birds of the same feather. Arjuna wanted to see them on the battlefield before the fight was begun, just to learn who they were, but he had no intention of proposing peace negotiations with them. It was also a fact that he wanted to see them to make an estimate of the strength which he had to face, although he was quite confident of victory because Krishna was sitting by his side.
Yeah, okay. Well, here's a purple, but looks like there's not many hands up to read, so perhaps you can continue. But just one point here is that I think we mentioned this before, but there was a lot of, you could say, diplomacy and politics before the war actually took place, with different dynasties, different kings, different emperors who were siding either with the Pandavas or the Kauravas. So it's described in the Mahabharata that practically, in a poetic way, it's described that the earth was practically shaking from the movement of massive armies like black clouds heading all towards Guru, etc. And even to the last minute, it wasn't sure. For some, it was already quite certain which side they would join, but for others, it was not so certain. So this is one of the reasons why Arjuna wants to come to see. That's why he says, let me see those who come to please the evil-minded son of Dhritarashtra. Yeah. So, and Krishna will draw his chariot right in the middle of the armies. And all right, so you can continue, Mother, with 124.
Sanjay Uvacha Ivam Sukta Ukto Srikesho Gudakeshena Bharata Senayor Obayor Madhye Stapayitva Rahotaman. Sanjay said, O descendant of Bharat, having thus been addressed by Arjuna, Lord Krishna drew up the fine chariot in the midst of the armies of both parties. Purport. In this verse, Arjuna is referred to as Gudakesh. Gudaka means sleep, and one who conquers sleep is called Gudakesha. Sleep also means ignorance, so Arjuna conquered both sleep and ignorance because of his friendship with Krishna. As a great devotee of Krishna, he could not forget Krishna even for a moment, because that is the nature of a devotee. Either in waking or in sleep, a devotee of the Lord can never be free from thinking of Krishna's name, form, qualities, and pastimes. Thus, a devotee of Krishna can conquer both sleep and ignorance simply by thinking of Krishna constantly. This is called Krishna consciousness, or samadhi. As Sri Rikesha, or the director of the senses and mind of every living entity, Krishna could understand Arjuna's purpose in placing the chariot in the midst of the armies. Thus he did so and spoke as follows.
Okay, so I have a few more hands up for reading, but just a detail, if you didn't know, Arjuna has the name of Gurukesha, means one who conquers sleep, because he was such an enthusiastic student in the school of Dronacharya that he would stay up at night to practice his art of to practice firing arrows. He would hardly sleep. So he got the name of Gurukesha, someone who's conquered sleep. He was so enthusiastic to learn the art of archery. And actually he would go out at nighttime into the forest and he learned to fire arrows according to sound. He would hear a rustle of an animal and without seeing it, he would identify where it was by sound and shoot the arrow. So as the acharyas mentioned, that a bit of interesting information. Gurukesha. All right. Any questions or comments, then please feel free to ask. Arjuna is a 100% devotee. He's always thinking of Krishna. He's a Sakha. He's a very, very dear friend. So, okay, let's have Mother Sahachari. You can read from 125.
Thank you. Bhishmadrona Pramukhata Sarvesam Cha Mahikshitam Uvacha Partapasyatam Samavetam Kurun Iti. In the presence of Bhishma, Drona, and all the other chieftains of the world, the Lord said, "Just behold all the Kurus assembled here." As the super soul of purport, as the super soul of all living entities, Lord Krishna could understand what was going on in the mind of Arjuna. Use of the word Hrishikesa in this connection indicates that he knew everything, and the word Partha, meaning the son of Pritha or Kunti, is also similarly significant in reference to Arjuna. As a friend, he wanted to inform Arjuna because Arjuna was the son of Pritha, the sister of his own father Vasudeva. He had agreed to be the charioteer of Arjuna. Now, what did Krishna mean when he told Arjuna to behold the Kurus? Did Arjuna want to stop there and not fight? Krishna never expected such things from the son of his aunt Pritha. The mind of Arjuna was thus predicted by the Lord in friendly joking.
Yeah. So this is a comment from Baladev Vijayabhushana. He says, Krishna's words, because you are the son of my father's sister, I'm going to serve as your chariot driver. Now you are about to abandon your desire to fight. So Krishna jokingly implied, what's the use of looking at the enemy's army if you're going to abandon fighting? What's the use? Yeah. So in other words, Krishna is affirming the thoughts in Arjuna's mind. And as we know, he specifically brings the chariot right in front of Bhishma. Here it's mentioned, and Drona. So he can directly see Bhishma and Drona. So that's Krishna's very expertise. All right. So next on 26, let's Mother Chandravali, you can read this one.
Yeah, you can do the Sanskrit. Otherwise, you'll all be sick if I read that.
Why don't you have a go? I'm sure you're.
No.
Just have a go.
No, it's too much.
No?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 lines. Chapter 2, I will be able to say it, not chapter 1.
Okay, we shall remind you of chapter 2. Sat
Those are
Tatrapastitam padam pitim ata pitamahan acharyan matulum batrin putram sukim stata shasuram shuradascheva sanayo api.
translation. There, Arjun could see within the midst of the armies of both parties, his fathers, grandfathers, teachers, maternal uncles, brothers, sons, grandsons, friends, and also his father-in-laws and well-wishers. Purport. On the battlefield, Arjun could see all kinds of relatives. He could see persons like Burishwara, who was his father's contemporaries, grandfather Bhishma and Somadat, teachers like Dronacharya and Kripacharya, maternal uncles like Salya and Sakoni, brothers like Duryodhan, sons like Lakshmana, friends like Ashwatthama, well-wishers like Kritavarma, etc. He could see also the armies which contained many of his friends.
All right, so this is a fratricidal war, which means it's a war within a dynasty. So, for instance, the wars that go on today, then it's not like the persons on one side know personally the persons on the other side. They don't. But here, they know each other personally. They're all cousins. They're all brothers. They all come from the same clan. So, the brothers, like here, cousins, well, not every, because there's millions and millions of troops, but many of them are from the same family. And there's different troops who are standing behind different members of different cousins or the different brothers. So, this is what Arjuna is seeing. And let's have Mano Mohini. Mother, you can read 27.
Yes, 27. Tanna samiksya sa konteya sarvam bandhum avasthitam kripaya prayasvasvito visidam idam abravita. When the son of Kunti, Arjuna, saw all these different grades of friends and relatives, he became overwhelmed with compassion and spoke thus.
Oh, yes. Sorry, I just for those of you Bhakti Sastri students, if you might remember this or you're planning on doing Bhakti Sastri, here Bhujan gives the 5 reasons, which is here in chapter 1, for Arjuna's not fighting. And so beginning with verse 28, Arjuna describes different reasons for not fighting. And Krishna will reject them all. In his onward conversation, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and going different chapters, Krishna is going to reject them all. So, can anyone name some of the reasons why Arjuna doesn't want to fight? Well, one is right here in this verse.
Because there will be no happiness. He won't enjoy, if he wins, he won't enjoy the kingdom because he will have killed his relatives and they were the people he would have enjoyed with.
Yeah. So it's just like, it's kind of a graphic example to give, but if a member of a family kills everyone in his family, how can he sit in the house and enjoy? The memories and the horrors of it. And as Arjuna said, how can I enjoy it when it's tainted with blood, when the hands are tainted with blood? So that's one. Yes, thank you. That's number 2 here, listed enjoyment. So Arjuna knows it would be impossible for him to enjoy the kingdom if he wins it at the cost of the lives of his family members. So that's one reason he gives.
It because unwanted pregnancy.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
Well done. That's the next one. That's called a destruction of family.
Yeah.
Vana Shankara. There's the verses that will come up. And Arjuna is quoting Dharma Sastra, why the fathers and sons should not be killed. And he goes into quite some detail. So that's 2. So enjoyment is 1. And destruction of family is number 1. So there's 1, 2, and 3 more. One is right here in this verse 7.
was seeing his family, like his teacher and
Compassion. Yeah, compassion.
yeah.
You see it here?
I mean, I didn't,
Compassion.
I'm just saying that seeing Dronacharya, his grandfather, I mean, how could he kill them? Like caring.
You could say that's yeah, that's termed as in.
Compassion.
He's like now he's indecisive. Now he's actually seen. Now all the disagreements that's gone on in the past is all in the past now, and now something which they inevitably knew it would probably come to a war is now happening, and now it's actually face-to-face facts where the war's about to start. So don't forget the conches have already blown. So they're just about to set upon each other. And now Arjuna can see. So now he becomes indecisive. And we will see that. So one is enjoyment. Second one we had is destruction of family and indecision. And another one is compassion, as mentioned here. He's feeling compassion for those he is about to kill. Yeah, especially doesn't want to kill his loved ones, the person who he has affection for. So then there's one more.
Because he's a devotee. So he's like caring.
Is it
Yeah.
that it would be irreligious?
Yeah,
Or-
so in other words, you could say there's sinful reactions.
Okay.
Sinful
Yeah.
reactions. So yeah, he's going to step over Dharma. At least worldly Dharma, he's going to step over Dharma. But Krishna's going to bring him to Bhagavad Dharma, which means whatever Krishna says goes. And that's Bhagavad Dharma. Even if it doesn't make sense on the material platform, if it's Krishna's arrangement, then it's complete Dharma. That's the higher level of Dharma. And that's mentioned in the Srimad Bhagavatam as Bhagavad Dharma. So yeah, that's the five. One is compassion. Second one is enjoyment. Third one is destruction of family. Fourth one is fear of sinful reactions. And fifth one is indecision. Yeah, Arjuna is not convinced. Yeah, so these are the 5 reasons. So if you get a question in Bhakti Sastri, please state the 5 reasons why Arjuna doesn't want to fight. Then you can just rule them off. Okay. You can continue reading, Mother. Mohini, you can.
Arjuna Uvacha Riswamam Swajanam Krishna Yuyutsam Samupasitam Siddhanti Mama Gratani Mukham Cha Pariyusyati. Arjuna said, "My dear Krishna, seeing my friends and relatives present before me in such a fighting spirit, I feel the limbs of my body quivering and my mouth drying up. Purport: any man who has a genuine devotion to the Lord has all the good qualities which are found in godly person or in the demigods, whereas the non-devotees, however advanced he may be in the material qualification by education and culture, lacks in godly qualities. As such, Arjuna, just after seeing his kinsmen, friends, and relatives on the battlefield, was at once overwhelmed by compassion from them who had so decided to fight amongst themselves. As far as his soldiers were concerned, he was sympathetic from the beginning, but he felt compassion even for the soldiers of the opposite party, foreseeing their imminent death. And while he was so thinking, the limbs of his body began to quiver and his mouth became dry. He was more or less astonished to see their fighting spirit. Practically, the whole community, all blood relatives of Arjuna, had come to fight with him. This overwhelmed a kind devotee like Arjuna. Although it is not mentioned here, still one can easily imagine that not only were Arjuna's bodily limbs quivering and his mouth drying up, but he was also crying out of compassion. Such symptoms in Arjuna were not due to weakness, but to his soft-heartedness, a characteristic characteristics of a pure devotee of the Lord, it is said therefore, Yasanti Bhakti Bhagwati Akinchana Sarve Gunes Tatra Samasate Suraha Harav Abhaktasya Gutam Haguna Manoratem Sapi Davato Bahita. One who was unflinching devotion for the person of Godhead has all the good qualities of the demigods, but one who is not a devotee of the Lord has only material qualification. Thereafter, there are of little value. This is because he is hovering on the mental plane and is certain to be attracted by the glaring material energy. Bhagavad Gita 5.18.12.
Okay, so what Arjuna is experiencing is
Compassion.
definitely not what Duryodhana is experiencing. Duryodhana isn't feeling any compassion, but Arjuna, being a devotee, he's feeling compassion, as Prabhupada mentions. The nature of the devotee is to be soft-hearted. So, and even Prabhupada is saying here that although it's not mentioned, Arjuna is crying. Tears are coming from his eyes. Again, he mentions the point, not out of here. Yeah. So this was not due to weakness, but to his soft-heartedness. So he's feeling compassionate.
Because of his family, relative, isn't it? That's how he's been
Yeah.
feeling for them.
Yeah. So you can see that Arjuna has to get over quite an obstacle in order to be enthusiastic in this fight, which has to be in order to win. He can't be half-hearted about it. He has to be he can't be weak-hearted, and that's Krishna later, beginning of the second chapter, at the end of this first chapter, he accuses Arjuna of being weak-hearted. So compassion has its place, but not on the battlefield. It's not the right time for a soldier to start getting compassionate. You know, there's a time and place for compassion, and for a Kshatriya, it's not very advantageous to start getting compassionate. Yeah, but this is the nature of devotee. And then this verse is quite a well-known verse. So we may have heard it or heard it paraphrased before. I think again, it's from the fifth canto. Yashasti bhakti bhakti kinchnai savakuna status asate sura aropaktasya kotat mahat guna manorathena dasavo avato bahi. So sometimes this verse, there's questions come up in regards to this verse, because it describes one who is not a devotee, or as it says here, has only material qualifications. So sometimes it describes that they have no good qualification. But Prabhupada's he's explaining it more here. One who's not a devotee of the Lord has only material qualifications, which are of little value. Because we don't meet people who are maybe kind, maybe polite, maybe very caring, although they're non-devotees. They have some qualities which manifest from mode of goodness. Yeah. But because they're subject to the modes of material nature, then these qualities are very superficial, and they come and they go, depending on what mode of nature is prominent. And I'm trying to remember a story that one devotee would I'm a little bit tired. What's the name of the Prabhupada disciple who used to be married to Archana?
Oh yeah,
And he took sannyas.
sannyas, yeah.
Punachandra.
Purnachandra.
That's it, yeah, Purnachandra. That's
Purnachandra.
Gita, right, yeah.
Yeah, actually, just remembering Purnachandra, he did this. I'm sure some of you heard. He's Gita Amrita.
Yeah, I
Did you
really
get
like
to-
the
yeah.
music.
Many,
Yeah.
it's many. That's an old classic. That is many years ago it came out, and it's really nice. And he interjects the stories of the acharyas, which to some degree is here. So I might search that out. I think it could be a good addition to our reading here. I'm thinking if I
that'd be
manage
good.
to find it, then we could, before we start each chapter, we can perhaps hear it. It's a dramatic reading of the chapter. But anyway, the
that'd be
story,
good.
yeah, I try and search that out.
Please,
But-
yeah, that'd be lovely.
But the story he says in this regard to persons who have, so materialistic persons who have good qualities, often it's to suit their own needs. So he tells a story of, I just remembering the story, so I might get a bit wrong, but let's see if I can recount it. It's a story of a jackal. And yeah, the jackal, there's a dead body of a deer. And some people come to collect the body. So the jackal is convincing them that you shouldn't take the body now. You should wait some time. And he's speaking religious principles of how to go about the cremation. And he's really extending the time, but he's speaking very nicely. There's a jackal and there's another animal. I forget. If anyone knows this story, you can please help and tell what the other animal is. But the essence, let me just get the essence of it, is that the jackal, and there was another animal, but I forget what the animal is, but another animal was saying, no, you should take the body right away. So there was discussion between this jackal and, say, this other animal, or vulture. I think it was a vulture. So basically, the reason why the jackal was trying to prolong taking the body away is that jackals come out at night and they eat the body.
Yes.
You know? So he had his own interest in so-called speaking nicely about how to take care of the body, because he wanted them to come back the next day, because it's inauspicious time now. Come back tomorrow morning when the sun rises, and then you can take care of the funeral. But he only said that because he
wanted
eats
to
at
eat,
night.
yeah. Mm.
And the vulture was the opposite way round.
Yeah.
The vulture could eat in a day. So he was trying to, get them like that. So Purnachandra, just remembering now, he tells that one of the acharyas described like that. So actually, the real qualities of devotee are not coming from the manifestation of the modes of nature, say of goodness. Actually, they're coming from a purified heart. So in other words, a devotee, a 100% devotee, is always a devotee, is always devoted and has devotional characteristics.
Compassion, is it?
Yeah, regardless of the situation they are in. I think we mentioned before, Mahatma Prabhu, I remember listening to a class he gave at the Manor, and he's got so many wonderful examples. He uses Mahatma. But one, he describes that if you take an orange and you squeeze it, what comes out?
Orange.
Juice.
Orange juice comes
Juice,
out.
yeah.
Yeah. So when we get squeezed by the material energy, what comes out? Devotee or non-devotee?
Anarthas.
Non-devotees.
Yeah. So in quite illustrative example. So, but a real purified devotee, he will always act in humility and compassion. He will always, these qualities are not just a manifestation of the modes of material nature. These are actually the original qualities of the soul, which is interesting because when a devotee, say a Suddha Sattva, someone who's in the Lord's internal energy, Suddha Sattva, purified goodness, externally it's going to manifest as Sattva. They're going to be very sattvic in their dealings, but internally they may be like Srila Prabhupada, for example. He was obviously absorbed, he was obviously completely protected under the Lord's energy. Wrong verse, but as the verse describes that the devotee is always under protection of the divine energy. But but it will manifest to our vision as being sattvic. So Prabhupada was very peaceful, very calm, he's very in control of himself. Yeah, he was very manifested sattva, but he was absorbed, of course, he was absorbed in Krishna. So sometimes it's verse, sometimes it's question, because it's described that non-devotees have no good qualities. They actually don't. As I mentioned, sometimes we may question it. We may know a cousin who's not a devotee, or next door neighbor that's not a devotee, but they're very pleasant and they're very nice. But this verse says they have no good qualities. But that's meaning, but here it's being more confirmed here. They have material qualification. Yeah, so you might not see that good side all the time. Anyway, any questions about that?
But also I can see that if these material people are squeezed a lot, really,
Yeah, that's
really
what we mean.
junk would come out. Whereas if devotees are squeezed, I know we said anarthas come out, but as time goes on, you can try to control it, little bit at a time. You can see the difference. That, okay, last time I reacted like that, the next time you see,
Yeah.
you would react a bit lesser. You're trying to work on yourself.
Yeah, that's a very good point. I mean, devotees are sincere, then they will reflect on their wrong action or their wrong speech. If they're sincere, and then they will reflect and have some type of repentance for how they may have acted, being influenced by the moment, in the mode of passion or ignorance. So devotees are very, very self-reflective, actually. They very much analyze what they said and what they should have said, or how they acted and how they didn't act. And that's it. They actually care.
I think as well, Murli Prabhu, to do with all the chanting that helps us a lot for to become that sort of devotee, that really helps us in our path.
Yeah, all the associating with Krishna helps us. That's what chanting is we're associating with Krishna if we're attentive to the chanting. We're actually associating with Krishna. So therefore, all the qualities of Krishna reflect in the disposition and the heart of Krishna's devotees. Yeah, so if you want to know Krishna, you can experience Krishna by associating with his devotees. Yeah. So, any other questions on that or comments? All right, let's go on to text 29. Let's see, Mother Kaya. You can continue, Mother.
Yes, if you turn the page, please. Can you hear me? Oh, thank you.
Yeah, 129.
Okay.
Can I have a go at the Sanskrit?
I see it. You see it. Abhipathush Chasharire me Roma Harshascha Jayate Gandivam Sramsate Hastatvakcheva Paridahyate.
Very good. Very nice. Hare Krishna.
Their translation, because I only have the Macmillan, it might be different. My whole body is trembling and my hair is standing on end. My bow Gandiva is slipping from my hand and my skin is burning. Purport. There are two kinds of trembling of the body and two kinds of standing of the hair on end. Such phenomena occur either in great spiritual ecstasy or out of great fear under material conditions. There is no fear in transcendental realization. Arjuna's symptoms in this situation are out of material fear, namely loss of life. This is evident from other symptoms also. He became so impatient that his famous bow, Gandiva, was slipping from his hands, and because his heart was burning within him, he was feeling a burning sensation of the skin. All these are due to a material conception of life.
Okay, thank you, Rob. So, any questions on this? So Arjuna is now experiencing material emotions. As we read in our Nectar Devotion readings, these things can be seen as symptoms of spiritual ecstasy or great fear. Now, we know that Arjuna is not fearful. That's quite clear. Let's just, but what's he say here? Arjuna's symptoms in this situation are out of material fear, namely loss of life. But it's not his life that he's concerned about.
Yeah, that's why compassion.
Yeah, is that correct? Anyone would agree with that? I think it's not his life.
No.
It's the life of all the millions of soldiers and the troops and his cousins, etc. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. And his Gandiva, I mean, it's mentioned earlier, we didn't mention it, but Arjuna has made vows that if anyone tells him to put down his Gandiva bow, he would kill them. And there is a pastime that unfolds in the battle where Yudhishthira asks Arjuna that you should put down your bow. And Arjuna goes to kill him. And then who saves the day? Krishna. Yeah, because he said, no, wait a minute, Arjuna, you stop there. Paraphrasing it. You should kill him. There's many ways you can kill someone. For a Kshatriya, you can speak badly about them. To ride their so-called Kshatriya qualities, call them or something. That's what Arjuna does. But anyway, here it's mentioned the Gandiva slipping from so he's beginning to, as we say, lose it. Yeah. Now he's really becoming very. Now he's looked at the warriors on both sides, and now these symptoms are now manifesting. Yeah, he's saying here. I mean, Arjuna's been quite straightforward with Krishna. His whole body is shaking now. You know, his whole body is shaking. His hairs are standing on end. And the Gandiva is slipping from his hand. Because there's a lot of pressure on Arjuna, because if he's feeling like this could be the end of the Pandavas' rule over anything. You know, he should be fighting. This is fighting for what is rightly theirs. So the pressure's on Arjuna, and he's not taking it very well.
You see, but what I see here is like what I think I see is because he's a pure devotee. So he's got all this, compassion, all this naturally in him,
Yeah, he's got godly qualities. Yeah.
So this picture
Yeah.
is,
Yeah.
nice to get out of that realization, do what I'm telling you to do.
Yeah, and so Krishna's, that's what Krishna's going to bring him to this platform of Bhagavad Dham, to lay aside what he wants, so what he feels. That's kind of difficult, isn't it? To forget what you feel, because feelings we take to be quite substantial. But you may be like this, but it's all based on illusion. Yeah. And again, also feeling compassion. He can see his relatives on the other side, but he's so full of envy, he's so full of hatred of the Pandavas, that there won't be any godly symptoms in Duryodhana. But in Arjuna, yes. His heart was burning. His skin is burning. The material concept of life.
Is it because Arjuna was doubting himself? Do you think Arjuna doubting himself at that point? He's like, the trembling and the burning. It feels like he's actually doubting what he's doing is correct. Is that right understanding?
I think Murli Prabhu's gone.
Oh, okay.
He's back. 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 think he was breaking up.
Yeah, he was breaking up there.
Yes.
Yeah.
Monica, I think that
Muli Prabhu, you're back?
Yeah, I'm back. Yeah.
Oh,
Sorry.
Yeah, the line's
your
taken
question.
because I'm in a valley in the German mountains.
Wow, lovely.
Yeah. So the question was, is Arjuna doubting himself?
Yes, was he doubting himself? At that point in time, it was just like, is this the right thing? He's doubting himself. And was he just doubting even about Krishna's mercy? Was he just at that stage where he just really didn't know what to do? He was just totally in confusion. He just needed that reassurance at that stage.
Yeah, I think that's a good way to describe it, actually. And we may be able to relate to that, is that we have doubts about what is to be done or what is not to be done.
He knows it's right, but he just couldn't think at that stage because it was so final, so much that he saw in front of him that he felt overwhelmed with anxiety.
Yeah, that's kind of a summary. That's a nice summary. I mean, he doesn't doubt, and that will be proved because he's going to turn to Krishna at some point. Yeah. He has there is nothing within him that he can bring to mind for him to be peaceful or to understand what to do. There's nothing that resides within his being, so he has to ask help from outside.
Mm-hmm.
That's the spiritual master. Yeah, there may be some situations we are in that we don't have the ability to, or we may not have the consciousness in order to decide what to do. So therefore, it's good to ask friends, persons who are close to us, help to like get their advice of what to do in a specific situation. And that's good. That's a good sign. That's a good sign of having some level of humility, where we realize we don't know what to do, and we have to ask for help, and we don't know what to think, so we have to ask for help. So Arjuna is, he is that. Yeah, I could say that's good. He is doubting. I mean, he's not doubting his ability to fight.
No.
He's not doubting that. He's quite convinced he single-handedly in Virat at the end of their banishment of 12 years, he single-handedly defeated all the Kauravas. Single-handedly. Just one Arjuna and this chariot driver. That was when he stopped being Brihatnala. That's another amazing story. Everyone knows who Brihatnala is?
Yeah, Arjuna dancing to Uttara.
Yeah, Arjuna is the eunuch in the teaching, dancing, and dressing to the ladies. Anyway, let's get back to the point here. Yes, he's doubtful. Yes, Mother.
I was just thinking, I still think at this point, it's his godly qualities. He's just so compassionate that I can't kill all these people, and he's like crying, and he's not confused that he can't do it, but he just can't believe that.
Well, he does say directly, but he does say the actual words, "I'm now confused about my duty."
Yeah,
it does cause him confusion. The emotions he's feeling, what needs to be done is quite obvious. But now he's come to it and it's about to say, kick off. All these feelings of compassion have come. All these material considerations have overwhelmed his mind. And that's arranged by Krishna, as we know. We can always come back to that, isn't it? It's all Krishna's arrangement.
I think everything we go back to the same point.
It's all Krishna's arrangement. But then, if that was if Prabhupada wrote in the Bhagavad Gita just one line, it's all Krishna's arrangement. It wouldn't be very exciting. So we have to discuss the reasons and this. But here, I remember doing this first chapter before. By the time we finish the first chapter, we're really going to feel close to Arjuna, because we're really sharing his emotions. we're really analyzing his mind and trying to emphasize, how do you pronounce it? Emphasis, to be empathic to Arjuna's situation. Yeah.
You know, when
And yeah, go on.
no, it's okay.
Yeah.
I was just thinking when you just said if Prabhupada just wrote this line, then it would be, you know, what it would be. And I was thinking the same thing when you're reading Srimad Bhagavatam and the purports are so long. And in the same purport, Prabhupada is repeating so many times for us to get it in. Then I was thinking, if only Prabhupada, if we could write it just in one sentences, then the book.
Yeah,
Okay, we've got the hang of the thing, but you know, he's making you understand that this is important. That's why he's repeating and repeating. I'm not the body, I'm not the body, I'm not the body, you know?
Yeah. So I lost a bit of what you said there, but I think I got most of it. It sounded like your voice went through a tube, you know. But we could think we've got the essence of it. Yeah. 7:53. Should we read another verse? We have to. I guess you've all got your. Does anyone need me to get the Bhagavad Gita back? I can. 1 second. That went. Okay, there it is.
Which one?
So yeah, let's try and be empathic. Let's try and share what Arjuna's feeling. You know. So 130. Who would like to read that one?
Shall I read?
Yeah. Okay. Go ahead.
Text 31. Yeah. Text 31.
Text 30.
What? 31.
30.
Oh, I think it's 30. 30.
Oh, text 30. Sorry. Nacha shakomi vavasitam brahmavacha me manaha nimatani cha pasyami vipratyani keshava. I am now unable to stand here any longer. I am forgetting myself and my mind is reeling. I see only cause of misfortune, O Krishna, killer of the Kesi demon. Purport. Due to his impatience, Arjuna was unable to stay on the battlefield and he was forgetting himself on account of this weakness of his mind. Excessive attachment for material things put a man in such a bewildering condition of existence. Bhayam divatya bivetasaha sayat. Such fearfulness and loss of mental equilibrium take place in persons who are too affected by material conditions. Arjuna was envisaged only painful reverses in the battlefield. He would not be happy even by gaining victory over the foe. The words nimittani, vipratani are significant. When a man sees only frustration in his expectations, he thinks, why am I here? Everyone is interested in himself and his own welfare. No one is interested in the Supreme Self. Arjuna is showing ignorance of his real self-interest by Krishna's will. One's real self-interest lies in Vishnu or Krishna. The conditioned soul forgets this and therefore suffers material pains. Arjuna thought that his victory in the battle would only be a cause of lamentation for him.
Yeah. Sentence. When a man, or say man or woman, sees only frustration in their expectations, they think, why am I here? What am I doing here? This is what Arjuna is thinking. Why am I here? So he's, yeah. Any other observations or comments here? This verse quoted, Bhayam Udita Panusatasyat. Just paraphrasing it, it describes, probably you're familiar with this, that when one turns away from Krishna, then one enters into the realm of fearfulness in darkness. When you turn away from the Son of Krishna, when you turn away and you embrace Maya, then you enter into the state of being fearful. And that's the, you could say it's an all-pervading emotion that's experienced in the material world. People are very anxious because they don't know what's going to happen. The material world is a very unpredictable. It's very predictably unpredictable. So many persons in Ukraine, for instance, or Russia or whatever, where these wars are going on in different places in the world. Actually, I saw that during COVID. I'm sure we all saw that. When it was really, there was a lot of, when it was at its height, when I would go out, I would see the fear in people's eyes. See the people walking down the street and they're full of fear. You see in their eyes, because you couldn't see their mouths because they're covered over. No, you could sense they were fearful. One time I was being a little bit passionate, he was so full of fear now. Any moment they could get a disease that they could die very quickly. And you can see everyone's full of fear. We think we're quite safe in the West. There's not here in Europe, and well, depends what part of Europe. Let's say in England, then we think we're quite safe. There's no natural catastrophes. Like now, there's a tornado, isn't it, ripping through America? Whereas that country's just ripped through and left it all in darkness. Yeah, these persons are full of fear and anxiety. So in the West, we may not suffer from that type of thing. But when this COVID hit, then it was like, okay, welcome to reality. We're not safe here.
Today they said somebody's bombed they said that they bombed a pipeline from Russia that feeds Germany with all its gas. So, Germany's suffering from an energy crisis really badly now, I think. So there's probably a lot of fear there too.
I'm in Germany. So far, the lights are still on here.
Yeah.
Hopefully they have gas more for cooking. Let's see. Might have to build a fire outside.
How long will you? Even here we might be going without electricity at some point.
Yeah. Might be going without internet.
There might be power cuts.
Yeah. So just imagine. Well, it's difficult for us, but try and envision a place where fear doesn't exist. Doesn't exist. In the spiritual world, these emotions don't exist. So the only fear they have is Krishna's going out to herd the cows and not going to see him.
All day.
That's not exactly the same. But there is this is Janma Mritu Dhyaradi Dokadoshan Darshanam. We should always be aware of these miseries of material. There is no fear in the spiritual realm. It's an emotion that's experienced in the. There's no fear in the spiritual realm. It's an emotion that's experienced in the material realm. So Arjuna's fearful now. Fearful because he doesn't know what to do.
Not in control.
Yeah, why am I here? Prabhupada's saying that, he's not, again. And at this point, and we know what it's going to come to, he's going to surrender, to Krishna. Mm-hmm. And then Krishna, and we'll bring it up again, just hit 7, but Krishna, he will smile at Arjuna's bewilderment. Because when Arjuna asks the questions, he's really sincere. And now it's time for Krishna to speak Bhagavad Gita. All right, we better stop here. It's 8 o'clock. And so I better stop here. I need
7 o'clock.
Here it's 8 o'clock. Okay, thank you everyone. Tomorrow.
I wanted to ask, but I want record to put off. Can you stop recording on your question?
Okay, go ahead. Cherry.